welcome into the post-game show, everybody. Altitude Sports Radio 92.5 on all of our Altitude Sports Radio digital platforms, YouTube, Twitter, twitch.tv/altitude SR. I am live here at Ball Arena where the Nuggets fall to the Houston Rockets tonight, 124 to 102. Excuse me, 128 to 108 is your final here at Ball Arena. Okay, so I guess we'll just start with the fact that there's no Nikola Jokic tonight, no Aaron Gordon for the Denver Nuggets. Insert DeAndre Jordan at the center position for Denver. And the Nuggets really struggled without those two guys in the lineup tonight. Obviously, we'll get into the game here in just a little bit. There's not a whole lot to get into as far as the actual game itself goes, but the big concern right now for Nuggets Nation and everybody here at Ball Arena tonight was obviously Nikola Jokic injures his elbow in the pregame warm-up. And I actually just got back from Coach Malone's postgame press conference. Jamal Murray just spoke. Now, Malone said that Joker injured his elbow during warm-ups, pregame shoot-around, and was deemed out for the game, obviously. Now, this was, according to Malone, this was something that they knew nothing about, so this wasn't something that was ailing Nikola Jokic, according to Malone, before tonight, and it somehow got injured in the pregame shoot-around. So, Malone didn't go into detail on exactly what happened. I did see a lot of people saying Joker was wearing a sleeve on his elbow. So before the incident occurred, whatever happened, we're still kind of waiting to hear that. Malone did say he's got to talk to the team doctors to see what the severity of this injury is. So that obviously is very concerning for Nikola Jokic moving forward. I don't know what the severity is. We didn't have any sort of details given to us in the post-game press conference from Michael Malone, but that obviously is concern number one for the Denver Nuggets. It sounded like Aaron Gordon, at least the team listed him as just left calf injury management, which is good news. Obviously, this looks like it was just maintenance for AG. Nothing like popped back up, at least what it sounds like. So that is positive news. But again, the big concern is Nikola Jokic, and we all know how important he is to this basketball team. The one thing that was really kind of stuck out of my mind tonight for tonight's game is obviously the offense is going to struggle when you don't have Aaron Gordon and Nikola Jokic, but the defense was not good tonight whatsoever. The Nuggets gave up 41 points in the second quarter, and they had a, sort of a defensive-minded lineup, if you will. They had DeAndre Jordan in the starting lineup, good interior paint defender. Russell Westbrook, we all know what he's capable on the defensive end, and Christian Brown. Now, your weak spots on the defensive end are Jamal and MPJ, but the Nuggets defense didn't do the offense any favors tonight. You give up 128. And by the way, the Nuggets are now 12-8 at home this season. They lost 8 games at home all of last year. So they're 12-8 at home. They're 12-8 on the road. Just a really odd start for the Nuggets this year as far as Ball Arena goes, because we all know they've been such a dominant team here at home. And Jamal, in his post-game presser, we asked him about where is this team at? What's his feelings on where this team can go? And really what he said was, and he's right, he said the injuries have made it tough this year for us to find our consistency, is what Jamal said. And I can see where he's coming from that aspect. Jamal's been a part of that, by the way. Aaron Gordon's missed, 23 games now? Joker's missed some time. So it definitely has that feel to it where it just seems like this team is really struggling to find that consistency. So that is something he lamented in his post-game presser, did Jamal Murray. Another interesting sort of quip from Jamal, Christian Brown, I mean, the big positive in tonight's game was Christian Brown. There's no doubt about that. He shoots 10 of 11 from the field, 2 of 3 from beyond the arc, finishes with 22 points. He was the bright spot for the Nuggets tonight, and Jamal Murray was as well. We'll get into it to him in just a second, but Jamal was asked, Christian's going through a little bit of a mini slump over the last couple of weeks. What is his message to him and the other young guys on the team, in particular Julian Strawther and Peyton Watson? And Jamal just said confidence. Like when it comes to the three ball, specifically with CB and Julian, how do you encourage these guys, and really kind of what is it that he can do to help get them going? He's like, it's all about confidence. He did mention Christian Brown when he starts to get in his head a little bit. He'll kind of shimmy when he has an open three look. He'll set another screen, and Jamal's like, dude, just if you're open, shoot the ball. He says he encourages his teammates to shoot when they're open, to keep shooting, even if they're struggling. And inversely, he said they do the same thing for me. So that is something that's been sort of a theme with the Nuggets, really not just this year, over the last couple of years. And it starts with Michael Malone. If you're open, shoot the ball. So it was cool to hear Jamal talk about sort of the camaraderie that the team has as far as encouragement goes in shooting the ball, even when you're struggling. And Jamal has obviously struggled mightily this year shooting the basketball at various points throughout the season. So tough game here for the Nuggets tonight. Honestly, as soon as Joker and AG were ruled out of tonight's game, you could just kind of feel the energy be sucked out of the arena. And it is tough. This wasn't the case where the team knew Nikola wasn't going to be playing tonight until about, I don't know, maybe an hour or two before the actual game. And Malone and Jamal were asked about that. How difficult is it when you don't know? Like, it's a different scenario when you knew Aaron Gordon wasn't playing tonight, or X player isn't playing, a day or two before the game. The game plan obviously changes. Obviously, things get a lot tougher when it's sort of spur of the moment towards the tip-off of the basketball game. So that really, I think, added to the Nuggets' woes tonight as we add our guy KJ Granderson in here. KJ, welcome to In the Paint, producer for The Morning Sprint with Alex Ryanemi and Coach Mike Sanford. KJ just got out of Malone and Jamal Murray's press conference. Jamal was in one of his moods tonight, like usual.
Man,
Short answers, but it was cool. He actually did have a pretty cool answer. He was asked about Christian Brown, mini slump over the last couple of weeks, KJ. And, he was asked, what do you say to these guys, especially the younger guys on the team? And what is it to get them out of these funks? He's like, confidence, confidence, confidence. And that's really what his answer was. And he also said, I just tell these guys to keep shooting. If you're open, shoot the ball. And he said, inversely, the young guys do that for him as well. So that was really cool to hear. But the big story of tonight, KJ, there's no doubt about it, is Nikola Jokic. Malone just said he injured his elbow during pregame shoot-around warmups, doesn't know the severity of the injury. So not good. And Malone did say he's got to talk to the training staff and he'll have a better picture hopefully by tomorrow, but the team's traveling to Miami. So KJ, just initial thoughts on the game here tonight, and how nervous are you about Joker's elbow?
Yeah, let me start with the game and then I'll get to Nikola Jokic here in just a second. Listen, this game went about as well as I could have expected. Look, Jamal in his career, man, he has just not been the type of guy outside of the playoffs to just string together games, man. He
That
just
was a
has,
sinister laugh.
yeah. Like, look, when you have a big game like that, I am literally biting my nails because I am nervous, praying and hoping that Jamal just forgets about the old version of him after a big game. He just is like, okay, I've turned over a new leaf. That was not the case tonight. MPJ did not get going until the second quarter, which he did not have a single shot
Well, hold on. Okay, just real quick, Andrew, real quick. So you're saying you didn't like Jamal's game tonight? Because
No,
yeah, I actually thought he played pretty well. I mean, he was 8 of 14 shooting from the field. Could have been a little bit more aggressive throughout the game, but honestly, like as far as a 2 game stretch goes for Jamal Murray this season, it's I mean easily been his best 2 game stretch. Obviously, he just dominated the Mavs last night.
sure.
But I thought Jamal played pretty good tonight for the most part.
He played. I'll say this much. To me, he played okay, and I guess my standards a little higher. Here's what I mean by that. When you see the ball is being turned over as much as it was in the first quarter, and you see the team is struggling at the free throw line, and it was a consistent trend throughout the entire game, there has to be an alpha that rises up in you that says, man, this team is going down 10, 15, 20. I have got to take this thing over. And I know he was being trapped every single time on the pick and roll because they decided to use DJ in the pick and roll instead of, Russell Westbrook or Michael Porter Jr., somebody who can actually make a shot or make a move when he's been trapped on the pick and roll. And so it was just like for me, it was just like there were moments where strategically I was like, Jamal has to put himself in a position where like he has to tap into a little bit of that Mamba. Like I always say, he wants to be a disciple of Kobe Bryant. That's kind of been his thing. There has to be moments where it's like, this is my time. I can't let anything or anyone else come in between that. We knew Houston was good coming into the game. They didn't make it into the top 3 in the West by accident. This is a team that is playing above their heads, and they're probably 1 year ahead of schedule. And
Jalen
that,
Green's a
and
superstar, dude.
let me tell you something. I'm not trying to disrespect anything that's going on in Cleveland and what JB Bickerstaff has going on, but Ime Udoka, if you tell me at the end of the year that he's the coach of the year, you won't get any argument from me. So with that being said, credit to Houston on that. But Jamal Murray, man, like there just has to be stretches where he's like, just get out of the way, give me the ball and get out of the way. Like I can live with him going 7 or 23 if he at least went through a stretch where he was like, I gave it all that I had. But tonight just wasn't my night. I can live with if it wasn't my night because I know what you just did the night before.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. It's just another thing that was really, really I don't even know how this happens, KJ, in a game where you don't have Aaron Gordon and Nikola Jokic, 2 of your 5 starters. And I know AG's been coming off the bench, he's got a minutes restriction. Michael Porter Jr. took 4 shots tonight. Total. 4.
Drove me.
How does that happen? I mean, and to your point, talking about Jamal, there were several instances, KJ, where Jamal had the ball in the low painted area. He had like 3 or 4 Rockets defenders surrounding him.
Mm-hmm.
So I can kind of understand why Jamal's shot total was only at 14, which on a night like tonight without 2 of your 5 starters, I'd like to see that, probably 20 plus. But 4 shots for Michael Porter Jr.? What? How does that happen?
I don't understand. So okay, and Dan, I know you kind of saw how the pacing with the game was going as well. Early on, there was a heavy dose of Russell Westbrook and Jamal Murray as far as the ball handling. Dude, there were no plays being ran for Michael Porter Jr. Absolutely nothing. And in the second, he's getting it going a little bit in the second. In the third, it's kind of like hit or miss. And obviously in the fourth, the wheels were off the trains have come off the rails by the end. But tonight was one of those weird nights where I genuinely say, why aren't we running more action for Michael Porter Jr. if he is your third best scorer on the team? And
tonight, I mean, first or second best scorer on the floor, right? With Joker and Gordon being out,
easily. Listen, I usually try not to blame Malone for anything because Malone has so much on his plate, and a lot of this has to be on the guys to execute what he's called.
It's a roster issue right now. I don't think it's a coaching issue.
No,
I've talked about that a lot.
Not the totality of it. My biggest thing is, okay, well, how do you fix a scenario where Michael Porter Jr. has the green light, will not get benched for it tonight? He wouldn't. if he shot more. So my
Oh,
thing is, why isn't Malone running more actions for him? It drives me crazy when the thing that should be done for the Nuggets becomes so intrinsically hard. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
yeah, I mean, is that just Nikola Jokic looking for Michael Porter Jr., looking to get him good shots up? I mean, like you said, man, they weren't running anything for Michael tonight.
Nothing.
And it's you've got to wonder if that's the case from what we saw tonight. When Joker's out there, I mean, they're not running a ton of set plays for MPJ, but they're running some stuff for him, especially early on in games. I think Malone has done that with Michael. And I think Nikola Jokic has sort of identified this as something that can work to help Michael early on in games, run plays for him, let him see the ball go through the hoop, and
Yep.
then that kind of helps get him going. Um, but man, four shots tonight, like that's something that just sticks out in the box score. Now I get it, like the offense is just completely different when Nikola Jokic is not in there. I mean, we've talked about Dario Saric, we've talked about DJ, and to be fair to DJ, I actually think he's been pretty good in the backup role for a guy that really honestly wasn't expected to play much of it all this year. He's
Right.
played in the last like close to 20 straight games or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Um, but the offense really just it just gets stuck in the mud without Nikola Jokic. And I really wonder if it's more so Joker really not a coaching decision, but it's sort of his decision on the floor to get Michael these open looks because we didn't see anything like close to that tonight.
No, we didn't at all. And for the ones that's joining us, we'll reset real quickly. I know the majority of you guys listening already know this, but Nikola Jokic was out tonight due to an elbow injury he sustained during pregame warmups, and that's why AG and Nikola were both out tonight. Um, in regards to your question, Dan, I, I don't understand why it has to look so different. We compliment Russell Westbrook on his versatility and all the different things he can do and all the different ways he can make guys better. Why does the backdoor cuts and why does guys constantly moving without the ball and looking to set screens? Why does that stop when Nicola's not there? Like
Really good question.
I just don't get it. Like, is Nikola that much of a force that he's literally moving guys? Because if that's the case, then the guys he's playing with, and I'm not even speaking hyperbole right now. If that's the case, then the guys he's playing with, like, I've got to question, like, your heart, man. Because
Mm,
if you don't have the ability to step up knowing that at the end of the day, this guy's only going to be out for a game, maybe two max, depending on how the inflammation reacts in his elbow. If I cannot get you to do what needs to be done to step up in his absence and say we are still championship contenders without him, then I don't know what else to tell you. We know what this team is with him. You guys don't have that many opportunities to show the world what you are without him. And I think it falls on deaf ears for people who want to root for the Nuggets, but in the same breath, whenever Nikola's out, you're getting pounded all the time. You're getting crushed. Like, it's just hard for people to believe in this team when the others just cannot hold their water. They cannot hold their end of the wagon. They cannot hold their stuff together. And it drives the fans crazy. It drives the coaches crazy. It drives us, the analysts, the commentators crazy. Like, it just drives everybody crazy because all you're asking for is 48 minutes of effort. I'm telling you, if let's say out of 100% tonight they gave 75% because it's exactly what it looked like. Let's say they gave 85% and they made 10% more of their shots. They only lose by what would that be, 5 to 7 points? I can live with that, but I can't live with getting blown up by 20 when all
I
you're
know.
asking is for just be competitive.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting talking about like how different the offense looks without Joker out there. And look, I get it. I mean, he's a unicorn. He is the best passing big man in the history of the game. Might be the best passer in the NBA. In fact, I've talked about how it bugs me when all the big NBA analysts on the national shows say, "Oh, he's the best big man passer." I'm like, no, he's just one of the best passers. Period.
Just
Um,
period, man.
but
I mean,
my point here, KJ, in kind of what you were saying, look, I get that the offense is going to look different when Nikola's not on the court. Okay, I understand that. But that doesn't mean the identity of the offense should just disappear. And that's what it looked like we were watching tonight. I mean, Russell Westbrook, I've given him so much credit this year as far as like the reason I think the pairing between he and Nikola Jokic works so well is because they both have the supercomputer basketball brain.
correct.
They both are elite court mappers. They can put the puzzle together in an instant.
Yep.
That should still be there when Russell Westbrook is running the offense. So, and also to your point you made, like, where's the cutting to the basket? I don't care if Nicole is not in there. Russ is out there running the offense. He will find you. So that was like I get that the offense isn't going to look the same, and it's not going to be they're not going to be producing at a extremely high and efficient level, but it should still look the same. Am I crazy in thinking that? Especially with Russell Westbrook out there, because like I said, he and Nikola both have the supercomputer court mapping NBA basketball brains. That's what's interesting to me is how different the offense looks when Joker's not out there. It should still look somewhat similar.
You're not crazy at all, Dan. As a matter of fact, you hit the nail on the head. So let's take something that Houston was doing tonight, and I'll kind of play off of that to kind of bring more perspective on the Nuggets. So you saw in the second half, the Rockets were running a lot of double screen action, right? Just and what double screen does, it just simply confuses the defense. They don't know if you're going to go left. You don't know if you're going to go right. It just confuses the defense. But it's no different than if it was just a typical screen and roll. So with that being said, let's flip it to the other side of the court with the Nuggets. Whenever the Nuggets would screen and roll, like you see the guards like kind of like hugging on the pick, as in like I kind of want to make a move, but I'm trying to see if the big man will bite. I'm trying to see if he's stupid enough to follow this other guy while the other guy's following. These defensively, Houston is too smart. And they're acting as if Houston is a bottom five defense in the league when they're number 3 in the NBA right now in defensive efficiency. And so my biggest thing is how you offset that is you got to constantly be aggressive. And yes, the Nuggets, they did a great job of getting in the paint tonight. I do want to credit them. I don't want to take that away from them. But at the end of the day, if you're getting in the paint, right? As no pun intended, but if you're getting in the paint and you are drawing as Murray was 2 and 3 and 4 defenders at once, other guys have to be moving. You cannot stay still. Murray is not Jokic. He can't just he's not 6'11". Murray's 6'3", 6'4". And you got to help Murray out, man. And it's just like there were just moments where the guards were tentative, and then when they weren't tentative and they were trying to make a move and then they were getting double teamed, other guys were standing around hoping and holding and staying in one position and just hoping that a miracle happens. I'm like, man, you can't make miracles happen. Miracles aren't made. Miracles are what you make of them. And that's what the other guys have got to understand when the guards are being trapped off the pick and roll like that.
Interesting. Yeah, like I said earlier, there were several instances tonight where Jamal drives into the painted area and he has at least 3 Rockets defenders surrounding him. And I don't even put the blame on Jamal there because it forced a couple of turnovers. And Jamal said that in his postgame presser. He's like, I turned the ball over 5 times. It's way too many. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, I kind of got to have Jamal's back on that because he's driving it into the painted area, trying to be aggressive, get it to the rim. Nothing's there. And he's instantly surrounded by 3 Rockets players. And you're right, KJ. Where's the help? I mean, he's literally looking around. Nobody's even close to him wearing a Nuggets jersey.
So,
So Man, that is a very odd thing that happened here tonight. Okay, let me ask you this, KJ. So I've been talking a little bit about this over the last couple of weeks because the Nuggets have, and Malone said this in his presser as well, and I agree with him. Minus tonight, and I don't really even count tonight all that much because they were missing Aaron Gordon and Jokic. But over the last couple of weeks, he said they've been playing the best basketball of the season, and I agree with him. Um, and this is a really good opportunity, this stretch here in January, where they play like a billion games to really climb up the standings. You've got two really young teams ahead of the Nuggets in the Western Conference standings right now. Well, really three if you count OKC, but they're kind of in their own class. But the Rockets and Grizzlies specifically, I've been saying for the last couple of weeks that I would be very surprised if at some point over the next month or two, the Nuggets don't overtake both of those teams because I think the Rockets and Grizzlies, especially the Rockets, are a year or two away from being like legitimate Western Conference contenders. Now, I like what the Rockets are doing. Şengün is probably the closest thing to Jokic, him and Sabonis in the NBA right now. Really liked what he's doing. Jalen Green, I mean, he was phenomenal tonight. He looks like a up and coming superstar. But I do think they're like, a year or two away. And it is, I was really excited for tonight's game just in the sense of like, okay, with a fully healthy Nuggets team, fully healthy Rockets team, how do these teams match up? That's what I was interested in seeing. Now, obviously, we weren't able to see that tonight because Jokic and Gordon were out.
Right.
But do you think the Rockets this season, KJ, are legitimate threats in the West, or do you side where I'm at and say they're still a year or two away?
Oh, I'm definitely with you, Dan. They're a year or two away easily. I mean, look, the Rockets have, again, like I said earlier, they're like a year ahead of where they're supposed to be in their maturation process. They're kind of on that same OKC timeline, and coaching can always speed up the process, and we're seeing it in real time with both teams, right? And so, at the end of the day, I've always subscribed to the philosophy of you've got to crawl before you walk. And I just don't think Houston is ready for what's to come. They're not as battle tested as OKC, Minnesota, Memphis. I know the version of Memphis is different than the one that was competing for top four spots a few years ago, but it's essentially the core is still there. Obviously Minnesota. There's the Nuggets. There's just Warriors, Lakers. I could keep going. There's just so many other teams with higher championship
So
DNA.
many in the West. It's insane.
I just think the Rockets, um, when push comes to shove, they're going to find out the hard way that is not as easy as it has been in the regular season. Like the regular season, everybody is on the let me pace myself timeline. But once we get into like game 60 and after, everything gets playoff intensity.
I would
And
say
so
like post All-Star break, it really starts to ramp up.
pretty much, yeah. Let's use that as the benchmark. Post
Yeah.
All-Star break. Everything starts to feel like playoff basketball from that moment forward.
Yeah.
And because the Rockets haven't been there before, there just will be a moment where they're going to slide, and it's not because they're not good enough. It's just because other teams understand what it takes to get over the hump. So they understand those crunch time moments, those moments of, you know, being able to close out on the 3-point line, unlike the Nuggets were able to do tonight. They understand those moments of being able to drive and kick. They understand those moments of when to slow it down and execute that half court offense, and when to be patient, and things of that nature. Just the little maturations, matriculations, the manipulations of the game that comes with time. I just don't think the Rockets are there yet.
Yeah, I'm with you, and that's exactly what I was saying about the Thunder last season. They ended with the number one seed. I said the whole time they're not going to get out of the West. They're just too young. Now this year could be a different story. Obviously depends on the health of Chet Holmgren, but Shea's playing at an MVP level. But here's the last thing I wanted to chat with you about, KJ. So the Nuggets' biggest issue right now is consistency on the court and health wise. I've said from the beginning of this season, I think what really hurt the Nuggets last year, and Malone admitted this, he ran that team into the ground. And the reason he ran the team into the ground is because they were trying to get the number one seed. They
Yep.
lost at San Antonio, the second to last game of the season. They missed out on the one seed. And these dudes were just done by the end of that Minnesota series. I'm starting to really get in the camp of sit Aaron Gordon for as long as possible. Sit Nikola Jokic with the elbow for as long as possible.
Mm.
Jamal Murray's knees acting up. Sit him as long as possible. Now, obviously, you need to make the playoffs. But my point is, you okay with them being the 6th seed this year? I'm fine with that. Be the 6th seed. I don't care. I don't care if you have home court. They're 12-8 at home and they're 12-8 on the road this year. I don't care about home court this year. I care about this team being healthy post All-Star break, end of March, into early April. I really do think that should be the mindset and the approach for this team this year. I mean, we've seen Golden State kind of do that over the years, later on into their dynasty. Early on, they were just crushing everybody. But later on, you saw them kind of slow it down. And the year they won 73 games, they lost in the finals. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, who cares about getting the one seed now? What this season is about is this team being as healthy as possible heading into the playoffs. I think that should be the ultimate goal, and getting it at minimum a 6 seed, because you don't want to be in the play-in tournament because that's more games. 6 seed is the goal. That's kind of where I'm at right now. If they're healthy going into the playoffs, I'd much rather have them be healthy as a 6 seed than be kind of banged up and tired as the 2 or 3 seed.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. This kind of reminds me of the 2018-2019 Golden State Warriors and how, they were on pace to three-peat, and then all of a sudden Kevin Durant gets injured and their whole life is like, oh, when is Kevin going to come back? Will Kevin come back? Kevin, are you sure you're ready? Kevin, I think you're ready. You look ready. And then Kevin comes back and then he tears his Achilles.
Narrator, he was not ready.
He was not ready. And then, that pretty much slammed the Warriors championship window. I mean, again, I know they won a couple years later, but
Yeah.
that's the anomaly, not the norm. Saying all of that to say, I I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying, Dan, because at the end of the day, if health is the number one thing going into the playoffs, then health can also be parallel with a little thing called momentum, right?
Yeah.
So if we're healthy the last 25 games of the season instead of the last 40 games of the season, and let's say in those last 25, the Nuggets go 19-6, that's great. I'll take that every day of the week if the guys are healthy. And
They
as
did
long as they're
last year.
healthy, we're good. So you got to ask yourself, what's more important? Winning meaningless games in January or being able to win the most meaningful games you'll ever win in May and June?
Right. Yep.
That,
Uh,
that's got to be the question. Nobody can answer it but the Nuggets organization right now.
that should be the goal. All right, KJ, I'll let you go. Appreciate you jumping on, and yeah, just a weird game here tonight. The energy in the building actually was just odd. There were like various moments throughout the game that Christian Brown throwdown. I mean, that was sick. But they were down by like 20 at that point. I swear to God, dude, being here at the arena, that was the loudest the crowd was all night. I was like, oh my God, did they just tie this thing up? Like that was insane. So that was kind of odd, but you could just tell like the arena, the information started to trickle in, and the air just felt like it was kind of sucked out of the building. Just an odd game tonight. In a game I was really excited to see a fully healthy Nuggets team go up against a Rockets team who's ahead of them in the standings, but obviously is less experienced, a lot younger. So it was just kind of interesting. I really wanted to gauge kind of where the Rockets were at, and hey, is this a legitimate threat this year? I guess we'll have to wait and see. But good stuff, KJ. Appreciate you jumping on, man.
Appreciate you, dude.
All right, there he goes, KJ Granderson here on In the Paint. We've got a hockey game coming up here tomorrow night. In fact, they're already starting to get the ice going. Look at, there's the boards. There we go. We've got Avs and Oilers coming up here tomorrow night. Shout out to the Ball Arena conversion crew. They are going to be busy over the next month or so. But yeah, tough loss for the Nuggets tonight. No Jokic, no Aaron Gordon. Obviously, the big concern right now is the status of that elbow for Nikola Jokic. And obviously, we'll be on the air with DMAC, Scott Hastings. Actually, I think Scott's traveling tomorrow. So it'll be me, DMAC, and Tyler Columbus. And we'll obviously try and get updates on the status of Nikola Jokic, and we'll pass that along as soon as we get it. But Nuggets fall to the Rockets tonight here at Ball Arena. We will be back for the Nuggets and Heat coming up in just a couple of days. Thank you so much for listening to In the Paint right here on Altitude Sports Radio.